Hello, I'm Terry Gilliam with Leaving California and Life After California. Today, I have my good friend David Lennox from Orlando, Florida on with us. Hello, Dave.
Hi, Terry. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Hey, Dave, you're an attorney, real estate attorney and business attorney in Central Florida. Can you give us a little bit of background about you and why it would be great to talk to you today about Central Florida?
Well, Terry, as you know, I've been nearly a lifelong resident of Central Florida. I've been an attorney for 30 something years at this point, so I've got a little gray in the hair now, but most of my practice is focused on real estate. I do also some work in organizing corporations and limited liability companies, and my practice is pretty broad. I do on the real estate side, everything. I oversee our residential closing department, and I handle commercial transactions as well, businesses, hotels, restaurants, you name it. I've handled closings involving those types of businesses. And I also represent quite a few overseas investors. Central Florida is a crossroads. Orlando actually is a crossroads of businesses from all over the world. So I represent clients from the UK, from Europe, quite a few from South America. Brazil is very active. So it's a very, for a mid-sized city, Orlando has a very cosmopolitan flavor to it these days.
And so why don't we talk about the business environment then? Here in California, I classify our state government as anti-business. They look at businesses as an ATM machine. How can we add more fees, more taxes, more regulations so that we as a state government can continue to grow and spread wealth and our programs across the entire state? A lot of people here are not used to an environment where the government actually supports businesses and is pro-business. This is March of 2021, so we've been pretty much shut down for a year now, with things just starting to open up. Can you tell us about, first of all, what it's been like in Florida and Central Florida for the last year, and then talk about how there are actual agencies and state organizations that actually are there to help businesses. Can you go through those items, please?
Absolutely. Like many parts of the country, we've had our challenges with the pandemic. A great deal of our tourist and hospitality industry has been negatively affected because, frankly, people haven't been able to travel or they're reluctant to travel, and that's affected, occupancy rates, attendance at the theme parks here in Orlando. We are now actually starting to see those numbers go back up as people are more willing to travel. They've gotten vaccines. In fact, we're pretty confident that the widespread distribution of vaccines, which will start here in Florida in April, will bring us back to a state of normal business. But it certainly has affected us. The atmosphere in Florida for business is very pro-business. You could say really the power is to the people when it comes to business in Florida. For example, our state has no individual income tax. On the business side, on the corporate side, we've got a 5.5 state corporate tax. And you can compare that to other states like California, which I think is over 8%. Oregon is over 7%. I think Idaho is now around 7%. And in Florida, we're at 5.5, and that has actually been reduced to help businesses cope with the impact of the pandemic. And that reduction will be through the end of the year, and then we'll be back up at 5.5%. But even at 5.5%, there are exemptions, there are deductions that can bring that number lower to the average business. You can also, if you don't want to go through the hassle of itemizing deductions and exemptions, just pay a flat rate of 3.3%. The other interesting aspect of taxation, corporate taxation on the state level here in Florida, is that it applies to C corporations. So most small businesses are S businesses, S corporations, or limited liability companies. They are exempt from taxation. It's through the C corporate basis that you can actually be taxed. Entities that are pass-throughs, like a limited liability company, doesn't really have that exposure. Um, on top of a very favorable tax system, especially here in Central Florida, we have a plethora of organizations and enterprises that have been set up to assist out-of-state or out-of-country businesses to operate in Central Florida. We have the Small Business Incubator Program over at the University of Central Florida. I think you may actually have a video set up with them at this point. We have the Orlando Economic Development Commission. All of these entities are set up to make the transition to Orlando a much easier process for small business people or people who are thinking that they'd like to start a business in Central Florida. So it's really been a very favorable situation for small business people. In fact, I had an opportunity to attend one of the meetings where a British entrepreneur, a gentleman who had no entrepreneurial background, came up with an idea of manufacturing and placing in airplane lavatories a special scented spray. And incredibly, that process, that idea just took off, and he got contracts with a number of major airlines, and he wanted to transition his business from the UK to Central Florida, and received an enormous amount of help from our local pro-business organizations. So for people who are looking at a new start, if you will, you can do it without losing the palm trees and the beaches. You go to Idaho, okay, they've got mountains, but they lose the other important things. So we still have the palm trees and the beaches, but you have a much more pro-business environment in Central Florida for people looking to relocate.
And it's not just pro-business. There's a lot of lifestyle that goes with that. You do have great schools in the Orlando area. You've got the University of Central Florida, which I'm not mistaken is one of the largest public universities in the country. You've got all the entertainment of the theme parks, which again are open again. So there's a lifestyle that goes to it. Now, people complain about the humidity and things like that in the summertime, but thank goodness the good Lord invented air conditioning, so you don't have to deal with with living in humidity all the time. So there's a lot of benefit, not just pro-business, but there's a lot of ancillary reasons why people should consider Central Florida.
Oh, absolutely. Orlando is a really unique place from a number of different perspectives. It maintains an entrepreneurial outlook, but at the same time, Orlando has a social conscience. You know, we had that unfortunate incident where a gentleman, well, I won't call him, but a man shot up the Pulse nightclub, and reporters from other parts of the country were commenting on the fact that we had lines hundreds of yards long with our fellow citizens of all walks of life standing by to give blood to help the young people who had been injured in the shooting. So Orlandoans tend to stand by each other, and they remain committed to the idea that this is a good place for you to reach your business dreams, really.
And it's still part of the South. I tell people that I was raised in Florida when it was still part of the South, but in spite of the fact that you've got a lot of people from other parts of the country moving there to take advantage of the lower tax burden and the pro-business, and the cost of living is significantly lower than like New York or California. You've got a lot of international people living there, but let's face it, Orlando is in the South. And so that desire to love your neighbor as yourself certainly thrives in Orlando also. Well, let's talk about the real estate market real quick. I know that's one of your specialties. Can you tell us what you're seeing as far as the real estate market and growth? I know from talking to realtors all across the country here in early March or mid-March, there's bidding wars in pretty much every part of the country. But the nice thing is Orlando has room to grow still. And is that growth being managed and without really damaging the environment and with a negative impact?
Yeah, we have actually a fairly active environmental movement locally. Certain parts of the county where developers have wanted to expand have been kind of placed off limits. There's quite a bit of new development in non-sensitive areas because Orlando, for those who are not familiar with Orlando, was originally surrounded by essentially orange groves. And Disney came in and completely transformed that economic dynamic. So as people have come in, we've seen more growth and a type of growth that does not outpace the ability of local residents to buy real estate. Values have remained steady, they have increased steadily, but we're not seeing jumps in the values of houses that make people completely unable to buy in the greater Orlando economic area. And as we see our economy return to a more normal status, we'll continue to see the real estate market grow. Oddly enough, we've seen no downturn in our residential market during the pandemic because we still had people who are interested in moving to Orlando, and that kept the market healthy. And so we've seen a steady series of closings on residential properties, and commercial businesses continue to change hands on a regular basis as well. So economically, you know, sure, we've been hurt by the pandemic. I don't know who hasn't been, but that part of that chapter in our lives is coming to a close with the vaccine, and I think we'll see some really interesting developments continue. You know, we have the medical city at Lake Nona, which has been a tremendous source of attraction to medical businesses, entrepreneurs. We have the research park, which is east of town, which has become a extremely important hub in the defense industry and in collaboration with U.S. allies like the United Kingdom. So we're developing a really nice stratified economy in tech and in medical services, medical entrepreneurship, and that has helped really to bolster our real estate market as well.
That's a great point. So you've got, everybody thinks, of course, about theme parks, Disney World and SeaWorld and all those, Universal all being there. But even with the downturn based upon the pandemic, you still have defense. You've got your what, 60 miles from Kennedy Space Center. So I'm sure you have aerospace and people like that there in Central Florida. I know the Martin Company, I think, has their operations there, if I'm not mistaken, that serves the Kennedy Space Center. And then you've got, as you said, medical, the real estate market. You've got an international market because you've got an international airport that serves Europe and South America. So you're not just pigeonholing Central Florida into one economy. You've got a diverse economy that can continue to grow and exist and maybe even thrive during challenging times like we've just had, versus a California, which is losing businesses like crazy because of its anti-business environment. And so people here, we've been in a recession, depression, if you will, during this entire pandemic, not just because of the shutdown, but because so many businesses have closed or moved, and people can no longer afford to pay bills. And so Central Florida offers a great alternative to what we've been enduring here for the last year in California.
Very much so. I mean, I don't want to sound like a nerd, but one of the exciting pleasures of having my office downtown is that I can walk out the door of my building, go down to Lake Eola, look east, and watch the Falcon launches. Elon Musk, numerous Falcon launches on a fairly regular basis, and that's really exciting stuff. The privatization of space travel on the Cape has lapped over into Central Florida, And it's really, that is an important chapter, future chapter for our country, to continue to see the development of space exploration, the involvement of private companies in launches and putting satellites up. And that has been an incredibly vibrant and growing part of the economy.
That's great. Well, Dave, as we wind up here, can you tell me what type of person needs your services as an attorney, whether it be real estate or business? Can you just kind of go over that? Tell us who should reach out to you, and I'll put your contact information along with this, but who should reach out to you if they're looking to move a business or even deal with real estate? What type of person looks to Dave Lennox?
Well, typically, it depends on the person's background. If they're relocating to find a job here, we can certainly help on the real estate side of things. We know where good communities are, what the best communities might be for commutes to where they may be located. We can help them with realtors in finding the properties that they may want to look at. For people who are interested in moving a business or starting a business, we can help on the corporate side with formation of the company. We handle the registrations. We prepare operating agreements for limited liability companies. We can assist on the corporate side on a number of things. And sometimes we have overseas investors, British investment funds that will contact me about locating properties for investment purposes, and we assist them with finding commercial properties, closing the deals for them. We can even put together a team if you have a client who might want to do some development, whether it's a hotel or building a subdivision. We can put together a team of professionals to assist in that process. And our firm is a large one. Greenspan Marder is located in numerous offices. Most of them are here in Florida, but we have an office in Los Angeles, another one in Portland. So we can assist in the process of relocating the person and the person's business to Central Florida and to help point them in the right direction for resources they may need to make sure that their business flourishes.
Thanks, David. Well, I know I'm looking forward to moving to Central Florida soon and looking forward to seeing you again in person. I want to thank you for your time today and just reiterate that people should really consider Central Florida when it comes time to leave California or other parts of the country where the politics and cost of living are driving people away, but Central Florida is attracting them. As Dave said, there's still room to grow. Their housing market is fairly stable in spite of the fact that there's a lot of demand because they are continuing to build. And Dave, thanks a lot for your time today. And it's been great talking to you.
Barry, it's been a pleasure, and our arms are open and welcome to our California brothers and sisters.
Thanks, Dave.